Welcome back. All right, so I want to talk about the Winnipeg Jets today. The Winnipeg Jets are not done. The Winnipeg Jets offseason has already been quite notable, buying out Blake Wheeler and then trading Pierre-Luc Dubois. The worst kept secret over the last, 13, 14 months in the NHL has been that Dubois wanted out of Winnipeg. So Dubois wanted out of Columbus. Dubois wanted out of Winnipeg. These are two locations that we've talked about and teams that have had issues with holding on to players, at least it seems. Although when you look at Winnipeg, if you look at them at cap friendly, they've got plenty of players on long-term contracts. But right now, there is some tumult. It's a tumultuous time for the Winnipeg Jets and their fans. But I do think that if Kevin Cheveldayoff makes the right moves and they stay in the playoffs for 2024, I think that would be nothing short of miraculous because we're likely going to see some major changes to the core of this team. Scheifele is still there at the time I'm recording this. Hellebuck's still there at the time I'm recording this. And I say that both because this could be getting viewed weeks down the road where things may have changed, or later today where things may have changed. That being said, between Scheifele and Hellebuck, I would think Hellebuck's the less likely to get moved during the summer because I think he's harder to replace, although Scheifele's at the top in terms of their center spot, and so it's tough to replace that as well. And this might be one of the last times I can wear my Mark Scheifele Winnipeg Jets jersey, so it's a sad occasion all around. When you look at the exits, you've got Dubois, you've got Wheeler, as mentioned. You've also got Gagne, you've got Stenlund, and you've got Riddick. So their backup spot in the goaltending, they've replaced Riddick with Brossoit. We know Brossoit, we know what he can do. He'll be coming back with his Stanley Cup ring. And, of course, in the first round, Brossoit beat Hellebuck. So that could be an entertaining interaction between the two once we get to training camp if Hellebuck's still a member of the Winnipeg Jets. So when we look at this team, and again, I think the idea that nobody wants to play in Winnipeg gets overblown a bit. However, when you think about it from a logical perspective, if you're going to be, making millions of dollars in your early 20s, and you have a choice. You have a choice about whether or not you're going to play that out and have your young family sitting at home waiting for you to come back. If you're going to have them parked either in Los Angeles in a really nice home or Winnipeg during January, you're probably going to prefer LA over Winnipeg. And it's a reality that certain locations have dealt with for forever, right? Whether it's Winnipeg, whether on some level Columbus seems to have that image, which I don't think is entirely fair, and I've talked about this in videos before. There are players in Winnipeg who have signed long-term deals, starting with Kyle Connor, their number one left winger. Goal scorer, fantastic player. You've got Morrissey, a guy who had a lot of Norris buzz for the first half of this past season. He committed long-term to the team as well. So the concept that nobody wants to play in Winnipeg is out there right now. I don't buy into it. I don't believe it. If Scheifele wants out and Hellebuck wants out, then okay. But I really feel like this is that split in the locker room talk over the last 2 years, and just something's off with this team. And so they're trying to fix that, and we'll see who else ends up making their exit. But yeah, you've got Connor on the left side. Iafallo, who was added from the Kings. I think that's a solid addition to their top six. Perfetti, I'll be interested to see what he looks like in training camp into the preseason and beyond. Perfetti is a very good top six forward to be in the near future. Does he get there this year? We'll see. Nemesnikov, solid fourth liner, and I think he's played well in Winnipeg, so it makes sense to have him there. Janssen Fjällby, I think, found a home for himself with the Winnipeg Jets as well. Tony Nato, good depth there in the forward ranks. They've added VL. VL is some toughness and depth up front for the Winnipeg Jets. And Malott, and you're getting into farm hands at this point, guys who are probably going to play for the Moose rather than the Winnipeg Jets. Down the middle, you have Scheifele, and the fact that Scheifele is, by all accounts, your default number one center, it really shows that if they trade Scheifele and they want to stay in the playoff hunt, they have to get a center back. Because you got Velarde here, who's a restricted free agent. It's going to eat into that $8,567,143 in cap space that they currently have according to Cap Friendly. But if they trade out Scheifele, I would think obviously you can take back another contract because Scheifele's money goes. You can bring other money in and still have money left over. But yeah, Velarde as a number one center, that to me would be a no at this point in his career. No, although I think Velarde's a little bit underrated by some. He's a restricted free agent. You've got Lowry, solid third-line center. Kupari's a restricted free agent as well. Good defensively. The offense, still a work in progress, but hey, as long as he's good defensively, he'll have a job in the NHL. Gustafsson, Harkins, and Lucius rounding out the depth up front, down the middle. Lucius is the fascinating one out of those names because Chaz Lucius, of course, a former first-round pick for the Winnipeg Jets, and they'll be looking to make sure that he is where they want him to be in his progression. And that really is one of the keys for the Winnipeg Jets, too, is some of these young guys like Perfetti, like Lucius, and then we get over on the right-hand side, and you've got Brad Lambert. So on the right side, you've got Ehlers. Ehlers, if he stays healthy, can be a 30-goal scorer for them. Niederreiter, solid addition for them from Nashville. No argument there, of course, but the unrestricted free agency that he will be set to enjoy next summer. Be interesting to see what they do with him. Appleton, good third liner who spent some time in Seattle before coming back. Barron, restricted free agent. I like Barron's work ethic. Not a lot of offense there, but the work ethic's very strong. Lucas Reichel, and there's Brad Lambert. Lambert could win himself a job, and if he does, maybe that changes some of the plans for Kevin Cheveldayoff for this coming season. The trick as a young player, especially when your waiver is exempt, is to make sure the team has to keep you around. You have outplayed the other players so much that they have to keep you. They have to waive somebody else instead of just sending you down where you don't need waivers. So we'll see. Then you get to the blue line. It's an interesting blue line. I think there's a good defense here. Morrissey, DeMello, a good stay-at-home defenseman who scores goals every now and then. But yeah, he's on an expiring contract. He's UFA next summer, so he'll be one to watch. Morrissey, of course, great first half of the season. Could have won the Norris for the first half of the season. Second half of the season, the numbers were not anywhere near as strong for him. You've got Dillon is on an expiring contract as well. He's a UFA next summer. Pionka's right there. Solid puck-moving defenseman there. Sandberg, there's still some more growth to be had there. I could see him pushing Dillon down to the third pairing. And Nate Schmidt. Schmidt, it's an expensive contract, but good veteran defenseman at this point. I don't think his contract's any kind of a problem for the Winnipeg Jets. Logan Stanley's a restricted free agent. Still searching for himself, I believe Stanley is. Stanley, I like Stanley, big defenseman, but he did not have a great season this past year. We'll see how he does this coming season. Apologies for the pausing, but, it is that time of year where allergies get bad. Capo Bianco is here for depth on the blue line as well. Heynola's been waiting a long time now. And it feels like when we talk about players who could get traded out of Winnipeg, if Heinola doesn't make the roster this year, maybe he ends up getting moved. We'll see. And then Knyzev was added from the San Jose Sharks. We'll see how things go for him with a new team. There's some good depth here. There's a solid blue line. And again, I think this is a team that's in the mix for a playoff spot in the NHL if they left everything as it is, or in the West, I should say, not just NHL. But if they leave everything as it is, we know that likely isn't going to happen. Then you get into Connor Hellebuck. Connor Hellebuck. I've heard Hellebuck before. I can't believe I said it. Hellebuck start allergies. Every time I misspeak today, it's allergies. Hellebuck, excellent starting goaltender, one of the best in the National Hockey League. And so I'll be interested to see where he ends up going. Laurent Brossoit comes back after his cup win from Vegas. Popular backup goaltender. And I think he's probably a better goaltender coming back to Winnipeg than he was when he left. If not, then it just shows that Vegas's defense is excellent at covering up for maybe a little bit of an issue with their goaltenders here and there, which has been my theory really going back to the start for Vegas, that almost any goaltender they've had, they seem to adapt so that the goaltender looks pretty good. And then they've also added Colin Delia. Delia played some games for Vancouver this past season. Mixed results there, so we'll see how he does for the Winnipeg Jets. In all likelihood, he is bound for the Manitoba Moose. So the Winnipeg Jets have, I think, a team that should be in the mix for a wild card position, but it's really going to depend on what return they get for Scheifele, should they trade Scheifele, and what ends up happening with Hellebuck. Because if they don't get a really good NHL level, like hockey trade return for Scheifele and Hellebuck, if they end up being forced to take something along the lines of a futures package, then playoffs this year might be out of reach. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. And yeah, when I've been doing these videos, Very often teams make moves shortly after I make these videos, so maybe I'll help the Winnipeg Jets get this straightened out. But it just means that then when I do the season preview videos, yeah, they're a little different than these ones. And of course, they'll be quite different because there's different details on the board and all that fun stuff. But let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Do you think the Jets stay in the playoffs this coming season? Do you think they don't? Let me know why. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.